It's the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion. This is for Monday, the 1st of December. I'm Michael Groff. Welcome to the start of meteorological winter. These are the 3 coldest months of the year for most of the northern hemisphere. And here in the valley, temperatures will be headed down at least a little bit over the next few days. Daytime highs pretty close to seasonal averages. Those overnight lows will be among the coldest we've had so far this season, at least by later this week. And along the way, we do have a chance at some rain and snow over parts of Arizona. Will we see anything here in the valley? We'll talk about that, plus that all-important winter weather outlook. People have been asking for that for a while. We'll get you the latest, all of that and more as we dive on in and discuss. First, the Almanac from yesterday. 74 degrees, the afternoon high officially here in Phoenix after a morning low of 52. 70 and 48 are the averages for this time of year. And as we take a look outside right now, here at 11 a.m., we have sunny sky across the valley. We're sitting at 63 degrees at Sky Harbor. Dew points at 41, relative humidity 45%. The wind is calm, and the barometer is rising. Satellite picture out here across the west. We put it in motion. Some high clouds came through yesterday in association with a weak weather system, the tail end of a weather system that passed on through. We had a couple of light snow showers over the northeastern, eastern part of the state last night, but other than that, this came through in dry fashion, slightly cooler temperatures in the wake of that feature. But other than that, very quiet conditions will be with us to start this week. Here's the watch warning map. We've got some winter weather advisories over parts of the plains and the Midwest, dipping all the way down into portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas. You can see some snowflakes flying there. Out here in the southwest, some freeze warnings over parts of southern California, southern Nevada, the northwestern portion of Arizona over Mojave County. Other than that, pretty quiet. The northeast obviously has a lot going on. The convective outlook for today, we have a marginal risk of severe storms, level 1 out of 5 for portions of the Gulf Coast, Mobile, over toward Destin and Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Could see a couple of strong storms there. Here's the precipitation outlook. This is valid through Monday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, probably nothing. Statewide, not much. There could be a little bit of light rain and snow over eastern and northeast Arizona later this week in association with the weather system that will drop on in. But it's looking pretty dry for the rest of us, and we're going to talk about that right now as we get to the models, see what the future may hold. Here we go. This is the GFS, the 12Z run. This is valid at 5 o'clock this afternoon. The upper look at 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet up. And that system that came through yesterday, it's out into the plain states now. Pretty good upper low, big vortex over central and eastern Canada, big ridge over the northeast Pacific, and a dry northwest flow aloft for us. And what it means down at the surface for the rest of the day today, how about sunny to mostly sunny? And temperatures ever so slightly lower than yesterday. Highs here in Phoenix, upper 60s to low 70s. Elsewhere across the state, it'll be in the 40s for places like Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon. And Winslow and 50s and low 60s kind of in the high desert areas. But for the most part, quiet conditions across much of the state. For tonight, the sky is clear, the air is dry, overnight lows mainly in the 40s to about 50 degrees. And then for tomorrow, it's pretty much the same forecast. Sunny to mostly sunny, high temperatures, upper 60s to near 70. We'll nudge a degree or two off the afternoon highs. Wednesday is looking very similar, high temperatures, mostly in the mid to upper 60s here in Phoenix. We'll see some increase in clouds across northern Arizona as another system prepares to drop in from the north. And by Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night, we could see some isolated rain and snow showers for places like Flagstaff, Winslow, over toward Window Rock, St. John's, across the northern, northeastern part of the state. But as that system drops south, there's just no moisture down here in southern Arizona. I just don't see us seeing any real meaningful chance of precipitation with this feature. I suppose across southeast Arizona late on Wednesday and into Thursday, there might be some isolated rain showers, but for the most part, this is not going to produce much. There's an outside chance, maybe in northeast Maricopa County, there could be a brief sprinkler light shower, but we're just not putting that into the forecast. I just don't see that happening here in the valley. We'll, of course, keep an eye on this system, but it's just there's just really no moisture. Any real chances of precipitation stay across the northern, northeast part of the state and over the remainder of the Four Corners, especially over Colorado and New Mexico. So Thursday, as that system passes on through, there could be a few clouds. Other than that, high temperatures here in Phoenix, mid to upper 60s. Slightly cooler air will be advected in behind that system, slightly drier air as well. So Thursday night and Friday morning, we could be looking at some pretty chilly temperatures down here in the valley. Lows might dip into the upper 30s in the coldest spots, low to mid 40s elsewhere. It's going to be pretty cool. This is the coldest air we've seen so far this season. High temperatures again, mid to upper 60s. Pretty much the same story on Saturday, mid to upper 60s for the highs. Sky sunny, dry air. Here's Sunday. It's the same thing. High temperatures, upper 60s, low 70s. Dry conditions to continue, but high pressure is going to start to build in from the west. The upper heights are going to come up. And as we go to a week from today, this is Monday, the 8th of December, the greatest day on the calendar. High pressure is building in from the west. There's a little upper low that's shown to the south of us. We've seen this on a few model runs. We're not going to worry about that. Might contribute to some breezy conditions. But otherwise, high temperatures should be somewhere in the low to possibly middle 70s next Monday, if this verifies, and very dry conditions to continue. This is Tuesday, the 9th of December. Same story. High pressure over the west and out into the Pacific. Northwest flow. We are dry. End of the forecast period. This is Wednesday, the 10th. Dry conditions continue. It's a different map, but it's the same outcome. It's really a very stagnant, blocked pattern. And quite candidly, this is the kind of thing that we often see set up during these La Nina patterns. The main storm track remains to the north. The orientation of the jet and the ridging stays in this configuration where the jet basically dives from western Canada and the Pacific Northwest through the northern tier states. The tail end of these troughs may get down toward the Gulf Coast, but generally speaking, the southern tier of the United States stays pretty quiet for most of the winter during a La Nina pattern. And that's, at least for the first 10 days of this month, that is what appears to be developing. All right, looking at rainfall for Phoenix, this goes out through the 15th of December. This is off the GFS ensemble, and you can pretty much forget about it. The ensemble mean is under 1/10 of an inch. The Euro ensemble is almost identical to that. Euro AI ensemble, almost identical. I mean, these ensembles do not show much of any precipitation for the next 15 days. Again, I guess there's an outside chance of a stray shower maybe Wednesday night. We're not even mentioning it in our forecast. And after that, I just don't see anything for quite some time. And I know that's kind of a spoiler alert for our winter weather outlook, but we'll show you that in a moment. Temperatures off the national blend of models. Yeah, temps will trend down a little bit. Highs pretty close to seasonal averages. Keep in mind the average high temperature in Phoenix is now in the upper 60s, 69 degrees to be more exact for today and tomorrow. And it drops slowly through the month down until it gets to about 65 degrees later this month. So you kind of get an idea. Temps will be near average and then warming up as we go into next week. And there's a very good possibility that highs will get well up in the 70s later next week. And Clayton asked the question on yesterday's video in the comments section if I felt that we were going to have a high temperature of 80 degrees at some point during this month of December. And given this weather pattern that we're experiencing, it is not out of the question. Highs of 80 in December are not unheard of. They are unusual, but they do happen from time to time, and that's a possibility in this kind of a pattern that we're experiencing. We'll have to get a pretty strong ridge to build in here for that, but that is looking like a more likely scenario potentially out there toward the middle and latter part of next week. Now, I will say, some of our deterministic modeling is trending toward a colder upper trough coming in at the very end of next week or that following weekend. But I mean, that's out there at like 300 plus hours. And, we're not going to be like a lot of those other guys, in this medium that, start posting, ridiculous model runs out at 350 hours and trying to sell you on, look at this big pattern change coming. That's just, it's just a trend. It's not even a trend yet. We'll have to see how future model runs go before we even start talking about that with any sort of seriousness. All right, let's take a look at the CPC outlook first. The 8 to 14 day period, December 8th through the 14th. And if this is accurate, well, probability, and this is what these forecasts are, probability is heavily skewed toward above average temperatures, not just here in Arizona, but across most of the western United States, really from Texas all the way up to Washington and Idaho and the Northwest, the Intermountain West. We are going to be above average. And that seems to jive with what model data is showing. Meanwhile, precipitation, we wondered when this was going to happen, and it has. Now we are squarely in the below average category. Below average is how the probabilities are skewed for precipitation chances around here. So warm and dry. All right, now with that being said, that big winter weather outlook for the period of December, January, and February from the CPC. Get ready. Yeah, probability is skewed toward above average temperatures. Not just here in Arizona, but really from central California through much of Nevada, all the way down through the southern tier of the United States, South Texas, over toward the Gulf Coast, the southeast U.S., including Florida, the Carolinas. Above average temperatures, below average precipitation. And that is not an uncommon setup in La Nina. Now, La Nina doesn't always mean that it's warmer than average here, but generally speaking, about 68, 69% of all La Nina years in Arizona result in below average precipitation. And we all remember 2022, 2023 was a La Nina winter, and that was above average, not just here in Arizona, but across the West. I mean, the Sierra had record snowfall. Flagstaff had one of its snowiest winters on record. Yeah, that does happen. But probability, and that's what these forecasts are all about, probability in a La Nina year skews heavily toward below average. And I know I've seen a number of people that are that claim to be meteorologists, or even are actually in this business, that have tried to, I don't know if they're just contrarians, I don't know what their deal is, but they have leaned heavily into this idea that, no, they're wrong. This is going to be an above average winter for precipitation. It'll be one of the wettest winters we've seen in 30 years. And I hope those guys are right. I hope they are. I hope the CPC is completely wrong. But, I'm a guy, I just go with the science. I just go with the probabilities. I'm a probability driven person, a statistically driven person. And I just, just based on pattern recognition, it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. We could be sitting here February 28th, and we've had 7 inches of rain in Phoenix this winter. I mean, I hope that happens. I just somehow don't see that happening. All right. That, folks, is going to do it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video will be back here tomorrow morning. Should you happen to enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell, leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. If you're really enjoying what we do here and you want to support the channel, by all means, click that thanks icon below the video here on YouTube. Make that contribution to us that way, or via PayPal. groffshow@gmail.com is our PayPal address. It's groffshow@gmail.com. Our Venmo is also linked up down in the description as well. And just want to mention that we're going to be welcoming a brand new sponsor to this channel, perhaps as early as tomorrow. So, of course, whenever we have a sponsor on this channel, remember, supporting our sponsors supports us. And so if you like what we do here, and maybe you just, you can't necessarily donate monetarily, but you want to support our sponsors, that does help us out too. As does liking, subscribing, just watching these videos, that helps us out as well. And we, especially the holiday time, we need all the help we can get. So all of that being said, the executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my OAO, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona, talking about my Michelle. Check her out, blogs, videos, everything Michelle related. Kylie related, Adriana related. It's all linked up down in the description below. So feel free to check all of that out. Our streaming station, it's available 24/7, 365. It's called KMGX. We play a ton of music, have a lot of fun with that over there, so give that a listen. And there's a possibility that every now and then, there might even be some holiday music that kind of trickles into the rotation over there. Every now and then. What else? Of course, we want you to check out Dan at the Courtroom Files YouTube channel, The Courtroom Files on YouTube, courtroomfiles.com for all your Courtroom Files merch. Dan runs an amazing channel and an amazing business, multiple businesses really. So again, check out his merch, check out his channel. What else can I say about it? He's been very, very supportive of us. We are going to have to be equally as supportive to him. So that's how that works. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support. It is so greatly appreciated. I want you guys to please be safe out there and have yourselves a delightful rest of your Monday.